Hi, my name's Emma and let's talk spooky stuff. Archive 81 hit Netflix last week, and honestly, I had no idea what to expect. The series was promoted as a James Wan production, but in reality, he was just an executive producer. And although James Wan, he's been a little bit unpredictable lately, don't worry, I love it. I think it's plain unfair marketing to put it down to just his name. Archive 81 is an electric drama horror mystery that blurs the line between supernatural and technology. It's where reality-bending films like Censor meet the dark investigation of the empty man. I hope I just got your attention because its unique and charismatic characters will really keep you hooked until the final episode. In this series, we follow Dan Turner, a video archivist and restorator whose life revolves around tape. From finding hidden gems sold on the street to his professional work, Dan's passion for the craft is quickly apparent. So when Dan is offered a ridiculous amount of money to restore a series of damaged tapes, it seems pretty straightforward. I mean, he is the best of the best. But his new job comes with some conditions. He must move to an isolated location without Wi-Fi, and of course, no phone signal. This is a horror after all. What could go wrong? But it's not the conditions Dan is worried about, it's the content on the tapes that start to unravel a narrative of a woman who is investigating strange occurrences in a building. This may seem like a lot of information, but I promise I haven't even started to skim the surface. Archive 81 is a deep dive into a twisted mystery that was so complex I even had to start taking notes. Lucky for us, it does an amazing job of wrapping up the enigma in something that the audience can digest, no matter how wild it may get. Its hypnotic themes and characters give the series a really unique structure. Even though it may be similar to themes we have seen before, it's presented in a fresh and alluring way. Once you start, you may not be able to stop until you get to the bottom of the mystery. Dan is played by Mamadou Ache, who is an absolute star. I've always found Ache to have a very distinctive demeanor. He is rigid in his mannerisms and often softly spoken. His demeanor is perfect for a tech whiz whose curiosity gets the best of him. It feeds into his character arc of a man being stuck in his safe space, which in this case is a video archivist. In this position, he just watches on passively. This changes into him being first curious, then he becomes part of the mystery, and then eventually he is the assertive lead who is willing to do anything to make things right. For example, at the start of the series, he asks little questions about his strangely unusual job, and by the end, he is the one knocking down doors, determined to find answers. His casting in this series was perfect, and I really hope that he does a little bit more horror and thriller. I know he was in Underwater, and he was also in Black Box, which you can check out on Amazon now. The other standout for me is Matt McGorry, who played Mark Higgins. As I said before, this story has a lot of familiar themes that we love in dark mystery horror, but its setup is very unique. And McGorry plays Dan's best friend Mark, who has his own mystery paranormal podcast. Because Dan is so isolated, Mark works as not only his sounding board, but his outside help in unwinding the moving parts of the story. He is a charismatic, essential part of what makes this series so fun. He's used as a plot device in an interesting way to discuss the problems, but he's just so damn likable. Sometimes that's just nice to have in a show, a character that's really reliable. But let's talk about the stylization, because a lot goes into the mise-en-scene of this series. First, the color palette has a beautiful modern feel with contrast, rich blacks, and jewel tones. It's slick, but it isn't too afraid to play with vibrance. Because of the themes of the videotapes, of course, we dive into an array of glitches, and of course, I'm a fan of that. Interesting enough, because Dan is watching these tapes that lead into another narrative, we don't actually see it all as found footage, which is what, with the title and the whole idea of it, you would be led to believe that you're watching a found footage product. But that's not the case. Once they've established that we're moving into the other storyline, we actually go fully into that world. At first, I thought that this was really weird and interesting because I am a fan of found footage, but then I got how alluring it was, because once you pull out of the story that Dan is watching, sometimes you forget that Dan's even there, and it really shows you the power of this story and how captivating and hypnotizing it is. It's like you're switching between dimensions. It's a very layered story. But with the stylization, of course, comes my favorite: atmosphere and sound. And the building Dan is isolated in is an architectural wonder. This has lime wash. It's like an industrial warehouse, modern dreamboat. It could use some landscaping, but hey, who am I to judge? It's clean and it's crisp. It breaks the stereotype for the normal isolated haunted location, which again proves my points that this is the same kind of themes that we're very familiar with in horror, but it's told in this completely unique way that really shakes it up and makes it feel fresh. And the sounds match the surroundings, the cold, crisp echo of that building. You got some rhythmic whooshing, which David Lynch would be so proud of. And there's even some musical pieces that match up with the core mystery. It's the perfect marriage of modern tech and paranormal. And I mean paranormal in the broad sense, beyond the scope of normal scientific understanding. If I haven't convinced you yet, let me say that this series has so many surprising themes, it's gonna send your head spinning. This series, like any good mystery, starts slow and rapidly reveals all the pieces of the puzzle. But don't worry, our friend Mark helps us to wrap up any odd ends lingering. So everything comes together in the end really nicely, but I will warn you, it's a short and sharp ending. For me, the downsides of the series were the fantasy elements. Not because I didn't expect them. Obviously, with something paranormal going on, there's gonna be something. And I mean, you can just look at the cover and expect some kind of fantastical moments, but I felt like the elements of CGI in these moments and in these scenes weren't really matching with the ominous tone at the start of this series and the dark mystery. It began a little bit more reserved, and of course when the floodgates open for any mystery, a lot's gonna come out, but I didn't feel like the stylization of these more fantasy elements fit the original scenes. Not giving anything away. And of course, the other thing was the rushed ending. I liked how it ended, don't get me wrong. I just felt like I was looking at the clock as it had 15 minutes to go, and I couldn't believe there wasn't another episode coming the way they wrapped it up so quickly. I wasn't upset by how they finished it. I just thought they could have pulled it out a little bit longer because, you know, you spend so much time trying to figure out all the pieces of the puzzle, you just want a moment to breathe. But the show is definitely worth your time, particularly if you're into dark mysteries. Like I said before, I would describe this TV show as Censor meets The Empty Man, very much so. And I think if you liked or you were just interested by those kinds of themes and subjects, I would highly recommend this one. It is streaming on Netflix, so it's very accessible for you right now. I'm gonna rate this one a personal score of 7 out of 10. I really think you should check it out. It's very binge-worthy with only 8 episodes, averaging around 45 minutes to 50 minutes per episode. For scare, I didn't think it was that scary, but there are some really fun, surprising, gory scenes. So I'm gonna give it 6 out of 10. And for originality, I'm gonna give it 7 out of 10. Like I keep harping on about, I love the way they took so many elements that I love in all different horror movies and put it together in this new way. I thought it really set itself apart, and I can't wait to see if there's another season coming. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have not subscribed, I'd love to have you here. My name is Emma, also known as Spooky Astronauts here on YouTube, and I do videos every single week giving you a lot of recommendations and letting you know without spoilers whether something is worth your time. I like to describe things in a way that you'll know if personally it's gonna work for you. I think it's more important to share that than my opinion sometimes. So if you do enjoy these videos and what I do here, please subscribe. And if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Stay spooky. Bye, friends.